Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for tuning in. I know it's late in the evening. If you're in Australia or other countries, thank you so very much for tuning in. Eric and Luke, the two best moderators in all of YouTube, thank you. Hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, if you are new to this channel. And to my super chat, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for your support of my work and these live streams. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a very, very interesting article. There's a very interesting article on factcheck.org. Debunking. So, this is a very interesting article. Media exists in this day and age to debunk Trump, even if Trump is right, or even if Trump is accurate or justified in being suspicious. Okay? They exist to always refute an argument, not necessarily check a fact. A fact check is oftentimes not what factcheck.org or CNN or the Washington Post or any of the fact-checking organizations do. Okay? That's oftentimes, or what the Associated Press, that's not what they do. They don't check facts. They offer a rebuttal that is different. If I'm debating somebody and they say, there is evidence that tax cuts worked, my rebuttal can't be, here's a fact check. I've spoken to experts and they disagree with you. That's not a fact check. That is a rebuttal, and it's a pretty weak and poor example of logic. It's actually a logical fallacy. You can't simply claim that you are right and the other person is wrong because you've asked other people. You have given the opinions of experts. That is what is considered a logical fallacy. So, appeals to authority, really quickly. Appeal to authority fallacy. Fallacy of argument from authority. You can look it up. It's a logical fallacy. It's basic logic will tell you, ring in constitutional, my man, ring in. Thank you so very much. I appreciate your support, ring in. It's just awesome. You're always starting it off, and I can't thank you enough. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people who are facing a discrimination case. We won't get into that. We won't get into who those people are. We won't get into it. There's no reason to get into it right now. But I'm not, on CNN, although I've been on CNN, MSNBC, but I'm not a multinational media conglomerate entity. I'm just me and Ringin' Constitutional and everybody here. I just thank you for your support because it is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. It really is. So, debunking. Okay, nothing has been debunked from this article. Nothing has been debunked. Usually you would say, before 2016, before Trump warped the minds of almost all of media and journalists out there who their only goal, you see what's taking place. You saw, check out my last couple segments on Brian Stelter and Michael Wolff. They're now looking at what's taking place finally and saying, oh, well, you're the reason that nobody trusts media. It's like, no, Michael Wolff does pretty much the same thing as Brian Stelter. which does, and they both do pretty much the same thing as everybody on in the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, CNN, Vanity Fair, Esquire, Daily Beast, Mother Jones, The Nation, The Atlantic. I said BuzzFeed. I said what else? I mean, New York Magazine, Los Angeles Times. I said Washington Post, New York Times. I mean, The Economist, BBC, The Guardian, they all run the same. And now it's NPR. They all run the same stories. Ringen, thank you so very much. Giacomo, hello. Ringen, thank you again. They all run the same exact stories. They don't deviate. It's the same stories over and over again. It's the same stories over and over again. It's the same thing. They never stop. They never stop publishing the same articles over and over and over again. It's the same. It's a template. Trump said something controversial. Here's how we differ. Here's our opinion on the matter. We've spoken to people who were very intelligent. We've spoken to people who were very smart. And here's why we differ. And here's an alternate viewpoint. And that's viewed as debunking. Completely and utterly debunking Trump's claims. So, this is of course a logical fallacy. You can't simply appeal to authority and say you've won the argument. But here, after a contractor hired by Senate Republicans, former President Donald Trump issued a series of false and misleading statements. They've yet to prove, well, okay. According to Trump, the firm has covered a massive number of irregularities and misconduct. All right. So, they could be, okay, the only thing they could be right about is the hyperbole, but they're hyperbolic as well. So, debunking, you're not debunking Trump's latest claims because his claims, what he's trying to convey has merit. He might not be 100% accurate, but I think it was AOC who said, well, you know, it's better to be morally right than factually right. So the major claim is pertaining to 74,000 plus a number, 74,000, over 74,000 that nobody disputes. So the issue is a discrepancy of 74,000. Okay, the issue is a discrepancy, and the discrepancy is addressed in this article by the following. According to an investigation. So, according to an investigation by the Associated Press, election officials in Arizona have identified just 182 cases. So, it's just like basic logic would indicate so. And we're supposed to just blindly trust that there aren't more cases, or there potentially isn't a motive for not addressing other cases that could be taking that could have taken place, or addressing the 182 in greater depth. There are bizarre issues like a cyber breach. I mean, it's like you can't really get into it because of YouTube policies, but there are very bizarre anomalies that took place, not just in Arizona. And every time this anomaly, like these types of anomalies take place, these bizarre occurrences, it's easily explained. Everything's just easily explained. Don't you know it's easily explained? it's also interesting that almost every time there's a human error, it benefits one political party. Happens to be the party that Trump opposes. Valerie Rogers! What else did you expect? Valerie Rogers, I hope all is well. Valerie Rogers. Yeah, and I agree with you. That is definitely the vantage point of virtually all of media is simply, Trump is wrong, you can't trust him. The problem is 74 million Americans don't trust media. Generally, like if they trusted media, they wouldn't have voted for Trump. This is a problem. But here they start off by saying Arizona officials only found a relatively small number of cases pertaining to misconduct. So what? What does that have to do with anything? What on earth does that have to do with anything Trump said? He's referring to the recount number 1. So he's referring to what Cyber Ninjas, the third-party tech firm, found. They could fact check, could be right. The Democrats could be right. They could be right. Trump could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't seen all the evidence. We don't know yet. That's fewer than the margin in which Joe Biden narrowly beat Trump. Okay, but that's according to an investigation by the Associated Press. That is not evidence within a court of law that you can prove. That's just an investigation by a bunch of wonderful journalists, many of whom we could say are biased or despise Trump. It's safe to say that the entire American media establishment has the utmost contempt for Trump. So, with prosecutors in New York, it's not about the rule of law. They're actively trying to prevent Trump from running in 2024. If it was about the rule of law, they would treat Democrats, they would treat the Clintons, they would treat others in the same manner they treat Trump. They have this fanatic, obsession with investigating Trump, and yet they can't indict him, and they can't prove anything in a court of law. Valerie Rogers, thank you so very much. Anita Eddy, thank you. As always, Anita, thank you. Thank you as always, Anita. Thank you so very much. I hope all is well. Thank you. So, according to an investigation by the Associated Press, that is meaningless. That's a meaningless statement. It doesn't debunk anything. It offers a rebuttal, and that's it. Maricopa County officials have pushed back on Twitter, rebutting many of the issues raised by Cyber Ninjas point by point. That, too, is a meaningless statement. Basic logic indicates it's a completely meaningless statement. Ringin' Constitutional, thank you so very much, Ringin'. I appreciate it. Keeping the train rolling. Thank you so very much, Ringin' Constitutional, Anita, Eddie, Valerie, everybody here. Thank you. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, Ringin'. Like I said, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people who shall remain nameless. Although we know who they are. And they went after me years back, and I stood up for myself, and so... Anyway, thank you, Ringin'. Thank you so very much, Ringin' Constitutional. Anita, thank you so very much. Maricopa County officials have pushed back on Twitter, rebutting many of the issues raised. That's a meaningless statement also. So they offered a different viewpoint. It's just like the Big Lebowski. That's just your opinion, man. Don't mess with the Jesus. The Big Lebowski is one of the great movies of all time. If you pull your piece out, I can't do it. Oh my God. It's the best. It's one of the best movies of all time. Then a Republican who chairs the Board of Supervisors released a statement accusing the firm of incompetence. That's a meaningless statement. And saying county officials have given you everything qualified auditors would need for this job. That's another meaningless statement. Okay, that's fine. That's his opinion. It's just your opinion, man. Ring in, thank you. The dude, exactly. I'm the dude, man. Lebowski. Market zero. Sellers said that uncertified contractors at the Senate hearing asked a lot of open-ended questions portraying us as suspicious. So this is about suspicion. Here we will address a number of false, misleading, and questionable claims. Okay. Then it's Trump falsely claimed in a July 16th statement. Okay, so they're going back. Okay, so showed 168,000 printed on. Okay, so the paper he took exception with the paper. Then they said, okay, so that could have been hyperbole on Trump's part, so they might be right about that. He claimed he needed to conduct additional analysis to determine whether there were issues with ink. So, again, it's hyperbole, but it doesn't really debunk anything that it doesn't really debunk the concerns. So, Maricopa County disputes this speculation that, okay, so where's the debunking, though? Okay, the cyber ninjas didn't say that in the hearing. Instead, he claimed he needed to conduct additional analysis to determine whether there were issues with the ink going through the paper. He claimed there could be problems and said he would expect. Okay, so President Trump ran with that and then made a statement based on that. Okay? To refute President Trump's statement, they say county disputes the speculation. So they didn't really even, I mean, factcheck.org has a point on that, but it's not really a categorical rebuttal. But I'll give them that, I mean, kind of. So there was an issue with the paper. There could have been an issue with the ink. But the county disputes that the ink had any impact because accuracy is verified through tests. Okay? How thorough those tests are, we don't know. The county further said, if the ink goes through the paper, it does not cause an overvote. Officials program certified tabulation equipment to ensure these columns are counted accurately. Okay, well, the accuracy is verified through logic and accuracy tests. That also, it's not supposed to happen, though. This is the problem. It's not supposed to happen. Even they could be right. Why does it go through the paper if it does? Why? Does it make any sense for that to happen? Would you want to write, like, your workout routine and have it go through 3 pages? Does it make any sense? Fact check could be right about this. The Democrats could be right about this. Why did it happen, though? Logan's claims about ink issues, particularly from certain types of pens, are similar to false claims spread. Again, it's not categorically false because it's not supposed to happen in the first place, and you really don't know if, like, why would they allow it to happen, number one, and is it standard or is it good operating procedure for it to happen? I mean, it's like, these are like basic questions. Secretary of State Katie Hobbs debunked the claim, saying you can't debunk a claim with your opinion. No matter what kind of pen you use. Okay, so in fact, Maricopa County said point we used places we use fine tip as they have fastest drying, therefore preventing smudges. Why would you use pens that go through the page anyway? Like, you wouldn't do that with the Scantron test. I don't again, Democrats could be right on this. Why is this bizarre thing an issue even? I don't get it. The Safe Cat, thank you again. The Safe Cat, greatly appreciated. The Safe Cat, thank you. The Safe Cat, thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly appreciated. So, then it's, okay, Katie Hobbs said, okay, so Secretary of State Katie Hobbs debunked the claims at the time, saying, so because she said something, it's debunking claim? Again, she could be right. She could be 100% right. Democrats could be right. But simply offering a different viewpoint, Safe Cat and everybody here, thank you. Simply offering a different viewpoint does not categorically mean that Trump is absolutely wrong. Is it normal to have, like, again, I said, like, I'm going to say this a million times so nobody accuses me of anything. Democrats could be right, but is it normal to have ink going through the paper? Is that even, like, is that what these machines are made to accept or to tabulate? Like, are they're designed specifically for that? Like, it's a good thing? Like, you want the ink to go through? As for potential issues with the ink, Maricopa County Department tweeted on Election Day. Who cares what they tweeted? What does that mean? So what? So they said if it goes through the paper, it won't impact your vote. Okay, why is it going through the paper, though? That's the issue. These are bizarre things that take place where suspicion is the natural repercussion. The natural consequence for this type of behavior is suspicion. Then when you're suspicious, don't believe your lying eyes. How dare you? You have a problem. You probably believe in Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, and extraterrestrials, and it's a big problem. You voted for Trump, so obviously you have issues. When we looked at claims last year, a spokeswoman for a software company said the ballots prevent one side from. Okay, so they said something. Everyone's saying something. The county tweeted. A field audit was already conducted. Okay, but again, that was it. The firm conducted an accuracy test. Okay, so one firm conducted an accuracy test. That's okay, but see, again, that firm wasn't very likely not given the same scrutiny or allowed to be given the same scrutiny as the tech firm that and you're talking about a political side that Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to leave. Like, they had to, like, they can't even get their New York mayoral contest. They can't even have a functioning primary. They cheated Bernie Sanders. And they purged votes in New York. And in Iowa last year, they also cheated Bernie Sanders, almost certainly. They couldn't even find out who won. It was Pete Buttigieg like a day or 3 days after they found out. Like, it's like... Okay, so Trump wrongly claimed that there were 74,000... Okay, county officials and experts say the president's claim is false. I don't care. Why would I care about that? What they say. And you say... Why would I care what they say? Where's the evidence here? Well, the smartest people in the room say this. A former compliance officer told us. Here's another one. How is this logic? I mean, they had somewhat of a point with the hyperbole with Trump. Yes, it's somewhat of a point because he extrapolated what the third-party tech firm Cyber Ninja stated. He extrapolated what they said into a hyperbolic statement. So in that respect, yes. But everything else that they're talking about, it's like they're not really proving anything. We spoke to this person. This person, who is now a senior advisor for the Democracy Fund, said this is no error or misconduct. They simply don't know what they're looking at. That's his opinion. So it's like, this is their opinion. Everyone said this, I said that. It's your opinion. This is an appeal. This entire article, just like every article, is an appeal to authority. There's the one point they did make is Trump's use of hyperbole. That's it. The county explained on Twitter, okay, so a whole lot of people are pushing back. As Patrick explained to us, so we can go, I'm just kind of copying and paste all of these, but it's like all over. According to the Twitter feed, according to the Twitter feed, and it's like, do you really know, like, even I haven't seen the entire Maricopa County hearing, so it's like, even I haven't seen the entire Maricopa County hearing, so it's like, they keep on, like everybody is refuting their arguments, but nobody really knows what the argument is, and that's a problem with the Senate Republicans. Here's another issue. There's no evidence the system was hacked. There's no evidence at all. So, in one of the many bizarre occurrences, there was a cyber breach. And that's easily explained. There are numerous cyber breaches, by the way, throughout the country, but let's not talk about that. We can only talk about that if it's Russia. This is why people don't trust media. This is why people don't trust media. This is why people don't trust media. You can only talk about cybersecurity if it has to do with Putin. That's it. You can't possibly talk about cybersecurity issues or even speculate. You can't even speculate. You can't even speculate. You understand? Speculation, suspicion, not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. So, but the county said there was no hack. So the president and Karen Fann, Senate President, and Trump both stated that, yeah, there was a huge issue. But the county said there was no hack. Okay, we're going to believe the county. The Senate Republicans, they don't know what they're talking about. The county, yes, we believe the county. Even though there was a breach that wasn't completely explained. I don't even want to get into what the breach, in fact, the county released the results of an independent forensic audit. So if they get a third-party tech firm, and the third-party tech firm that they get says, oh, there's no issues at all, we should trust them. We should trust them completely. Don't you understand? They're not cyber ninjas. Because honestly, who would even trust a company that was hired by the Senate Republicans? Come on. Seriously. So, okay, there's a little hypocrisy there. So their independent forensic audit was 100% accurate. Okay. Voter rolls confusion. This actual fact check article basically bolsters Trump. This is the problem. Trump will engage in a little bit of hyperbole. It was completely messed up, he'll say. And then fact check or the Associated Press, they'll go point by point. This bizarre anomaly is easily explained. We spoke to this official who despises Trump. Or this official that has everything to gain from pushing back on the initial claim. We spoke to this person. We spoke to that person. There's a Twitter thread. And it's debunked. We rate Trump's claims false exponentially to the 100th degree, 1 millionth power false. And if you vote for this person, I mean, it's a post-truth moment. But see, like, I know that these are, like, boring segments sometimes, and people are like, oh, you know, you're doing the same type of segment, but it's like, it's important because you don't really get, you don't really get, I mean, there are a number of people who do a good job breaking down, you know, the reality that fact-checking organizations don't even check facts. They just want to be gatekeepers for truth. Or, you know, they want to engage in a certain type of warped logic to say, well, we've spoken to like so many people, and honestly, the smartest people in the room don't even trust what Trump is doing. Then, okay, Logan and the county disagreements. So, the case is going to go... The case is going to go to court. The case is going to go to court. I mean, all of this... Senate President Karen Fann, the leading Republican, has stated all of this is going to go to court. And... They're gonna have to prove, like, all the people who made claims stating that what cyber ninjas and Republicans found is just, you know, it's just a misunderstanding here, misunderstanding there. How come, this is the issue, how come there are so many bizarre occurrences that need to be explained? And how come every single explanation is a benign, easily understood explanation that obviously, I mean, if you think for 1 second that Trump had any chance in a historically red state, I mean, you got another thing coming. But here are some quotes from this factcheck.org article that completely debunks a debunking. According to an investigation by the Associated Press, okay, that means nothing. That's an appeal to authority. So that means nothing. You can say according to the DNC. You might as well say, if it was according to the Washington Post, you might as well say according to the DNC. But... according to an investigation, okay, then county officials have pushed back on Twitter. That's a meaningless statement. A Republican who chairs released the statement. That's a meaningless statement there. Maricopa County disputes this speculation. That's also meaningless. Secretary of State Hobbs debunked the claims at the time, saying, you don't debunk a claim by saying by communicating a different vantage point. You don't debunk a claim like that. The county election department tweeted on election day. That doesn't alleviate anyone's concerns. County election officials and election experts say, former federal compliance officer of the county told us who is now a senior advisor for the Democracy Fund, said there is no error or misconduct. Okay, that's his viewpoint. Whatever, man. That's like your opinion. As the county explained via Twitter, according to county Twitter feed, but the county said there was no hack. Okay, so how is this viewed as anything other than public relations? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. This is why nobody trusts media. This is why trust in media is an all-time low. Everybody knows. Look. I lost like 4 or 5 friends through no fault of my own because I support President Trump. The people who distanced themselves from me only did so because of a combination of peer pressure and watching CNN or MSNBC, reading the New York Times, and thinking that because their biases or their prejudices are bolstered by the news, that, well, everything they think about Trump must be completely accurate. He's a madman and a menace. I mean, everyone's saying it. Basic logic. Like, I don't care if somebody votes for Biden or Clinton. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But people who don't like Trump, they take it another level. He is a monster, a menace. Anyone who supports him is like a bad human being, immoral. And then, interestingly enough, they engage in the immoral act of ending a friendship because of politics. And the ignorant viewpoint that states, well, CNN and the Washington Post and the New York Times accused Trump of this, that, and he said this, that, and this, and blindly accepting all of this fake, false news. He never called 1930s and 1940s Germans fine people. He literally condemned them 3 different times within the transcript. He never called the pandemic a hoax. He was talking about the media. He was talking about the media reaction. He never worked with Russia. He never incited or compelled anyone to do anything. Otherwise, they would have accused him of that in a court of law. They need to stop accusing Trump and simply indict him if they can, or charge him. Otherwise, every allegation and accusation is completely and utterly meaningless. Every allegation is completely meaningless if they can't back it up with evidence. He's not going away, exactly. And it's like, they don't hold Trump to the same standard they hold Biden to. Or they don't hold Biden to the same standard they hold. These are people who believe also, like the friends that just disowned me. These are people who believe they're morally superior. You have to understand something. When you look in the mirror and you truly believe that you're morally superior, and your ignorance of foreign policy or domestic policy protects you from understanding that there are legitimate reasons to vote for Trump. It's like, you can disagree with Trump on policies. You can dislike his personality. Those are all rational viewpoints. When you make absurd claims like Biden is morally superior, when you look at his track record and you look at the accusations leveled against him, when you say that you're taking the morally superior viewpoint because you voted against Trump, that is based on complete ignorance of politics, of democratic policies, of all the sins and all the misconduct and all the horrendous decision-making that President Obama and Biden and others have made. You look at President Obama's NATO intervention in Libya, that's worse than anything Trump has ever done. Categorically worse. Without a shadow of a doubt. He even admitted, he's like, oh, it's my worst mistake. Turning a country into a failed state where human beings are being bought and sold, because of a direct consequence of your decision making, is worse than anything Trump has ever done. And if anything, Trump is the only president we've had in recent memory that didn't start a new conflict. And we had record low unemployment. And he did better among non-white voters than he did in 2016. You would think that the nonstop negative media coverage would have, prevented that from taking place. But, it's not the case. So, I mean, you have these bizarre anomalies, these, interesting coincidences. Gosh, it's just a coincidence. It's an interesting, it's really, oh my goodness, it's like, and at the end of the day, the explanations are, well, we disagree with that. And, as you can see, the people that Trump have accused have stated he's wrong. That's it. That's really what it comes down to. But if you accuse Trump, you investigate until the end of time. And if you continually come up with nothing, well, then you start a new investigation. See, what they've done with Trump is what Republicans did with the Clintons. The difference being the Clintons were always embroiled in some kind of controversy. They always were in some kind of scandal. From Whitewater to private servers to Bill Clinton. Oh my goodness, the media was so unfair with us. And in many ways, like the Oval Office, the Republicans just wanted to, the primary goal was to embarrass Bill Clinton. That was the primary goal. They didn't really care because you had Republicans doing the same things. They didn't really care about the moral aspect. They saw something that he did, and then they went after it. And he lied under oath. See, but Trump actually never did anything. Like, he never committed a crime. He never committed perjury because he never worked with Russia. So they made that up. They literally fabricated stories about Trump, and they're still doing that on a daily basis. They fabricate stories. And then they say, well, it's his fault. He didn't keep us safe. They wouldn't have listened to him anyway. And then they ignore the fact that the Democratic-run states, according to the New York Times statistics, had the absolute worst outcomes. So, it's like, the whole thing is just, we live in a very precarious time period, interesting times, as they say. And the reason the reason before I go is because Republicans don't offer an opposing vantage point. The Republican Party is not unified behind Trump, or doesn't defend President Trump in the manner that Democrats defend Biden. They impeached Trump for having the audacity to try and possibly investigate Biden. And he deserved to be investigated because the emails that were eventually, they then suspended the New York Post Twitter account. I mean, this is unprecedented in American history. Right before an election, well, I mean, the internet hasn't been around for that long, but it's unprecedented. Dan Rather lost his job because of a story that wasn't accurate pertaining to George W. Bush. Now it's the opposite. You make more money if you publish inaccurate stories about Trump. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Watch the upload. The upload is... I'm going to have an upload on this channel probably by around early morning or late morning, early afternoon tomorrow. And Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. Ringen, everybody here, thank you so very much. And I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll do 2 live streams again tomorrow, and I'll try to do definitely one.